can only add one acknowledger with the current version. It's just a UI thing. This is where you can see that there's a number of addresses that you can choose here. They're from the tamper-proof addressed book, right? But you can go and pick addresses off your contacts in your phone if you put them in there. So once you've got added an acknowledger, you've then got to badger the other person to get the app, get some balance, and then acknowledge your activity. So you just share the activity with them and they acknowledge it. And then you've just got the verifier. So if you are being a verifier on the mobile phone, someone shares you the activity address. If you are the person that's allowed to change the state on the activity, it will give you some options. There's various things you can do. You can...
That's the actioning the activity.
Yeah, so this is quite old, these... sorry? Oh, sorry, this is actioning. Excuse me. So the next step after it's acknowledged is you action it. So in this case, with this activity, you're providing the verifier address, that's saying who's going to have the right to play the verifier role. You put some information, a description, a reference. That's hashed, and only the hash is stored on the blockchain. You share this information through your messaging system, and then you submit it. And then the verifier can verify it. So as I say, they are the people that are allowed to change the state of the activity. There's various things that they can see and they can do. So one of the things they can do is challenge you. So first of all, if Selena comes to me, I don't really know, well, we're on the phone, I don't know it's Selena, but I can see that this activity is related to this account that I've got. The first thing I want to do is make sure that person is the person that owns that, so I can challenge them. So Selena just makes a Boolean change on the smart contract, which proves, because cryptographically she's the only person that could do that, and then I actually see this little hand change to 2 fingers or whatever I've made it. So you now know the person you're speaking to actually was able to make a change to that smart contract, and you know they're in control of it. Of course, the thing that you really want to do then is check that the acknowledgers are who either have been mutually shared or are who you expect to be, right, through one of these oracles. And then you can check that the details that you've been sent for the action match the hash in the smart contract. So at the moment you just paste the JSON that comes through the message to you into there, and then it'll give you a green tick. That's it. Right. I normally start with this, what's the name of that type of pug? Because they're popular dogs at the moment. Oh, is that French? That's it, French bulldog. I normally start at the beginning saying the most important thing is that I get people to use the product. We've been doing that a lot.
Dog food.
And then we get to here and say, look, if you believe in this technology, start using the products, start engaging with the community, start believing in them. So get stuck in. But it doesn't make sense now. So now, any questions?
I have 2 totally unrelated to your software. not exactly, but
yeah.
One is, what tech are you using to write the app?
The JavaScript. And then, if needed, plugins into the browsers and things like that.
No, the mobile app.
The mobile app?
Yeah.
I'm actually using Cordova and Meetup.
Yeah.
Because I'm on my own, and I need to support multiple platforms.
Fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just interested.
Okay.
Another one. We're all supposedly quite intelligent, educated people who get this.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know who told you that.
Sorry?
I don't know who told you that.
I didn't get to the excited. We understand it.
Yeah.
We know what it's there for.
Yeah.
We know how it works. And forget how it works. But will people, I know my dad would never, but people like my brother who's a financial advisor and doesn't get tech,
Yeah.
would he ever use it? Would it be at the point where there is confidence in the public to go, I can use this app sensibly?
Is that not the same question as I can transact on Amazon? And then what we told them is check for the little lock at the top, which is actually complete rubbish, but it works. And when we deal with our banks, it's the same thing. I think the point is, how do you start with getting people with the vision in there that they can trust it? Now, we met with a guy from RBS yesterday, and he asked the same thing, because he said when his auditors come in and they're asking him how does he account for this technology, how does he do that? What does he reference? So the whole industry needs to come up with a way I'm not just saying it's blockchain, it's crypto, you can trust it. There needs to be a way of doing that, right? That's one
Yeah.
thing. The other point is this, the way that I'm dealing with it is the strategy. So as I said, we didn't even build the product, which was already going to be crypto, but I was just using normal Java-based crypto APIs. But I ran into a massive problem with how do you distribute this stuff globally when it's Java. So when blockchain came along, it solved all of those problems. But the strategy was, before we start, how can we get integrity into the process that we're building? Now, by starting with the registrars, we've trained them, they're ready to go. As soon as they start giving, you know, we've had the General Registry Office, which is part of the HM Passport Office, say twice that they've looked at the product, they've looked at the way that we're doing it, they are free to use it.
Registrars.
And it'd be also for passports.
Yes. Obviously, when you're a startup, one thing that a lot of people say, Paul, go to the government, go to these big companies. No, I've been in them. I know how it works. They just listen, learn. Right. Because you're just small, you've got no money, you've got no credibility. Yes, if we have 100,000 users, or 250,000 users, and this is our strategy, so you've got 250,000 users, right? Maybe we encourage all these people from the crypto world and the developer world to have it. And then you all go into your bank and say, I trust this, I want an activity to protect my bank account. There's the link where you go to figure out how to check that the activity is correct. I'm sick of all this fraud. If we get 100,000 people, 10,000 people doing that, that's when the big companies come to you and go, well, it's all this stuff. How do we respond to it? So the route that we took with the registrars gives that very niche market. There's only 266,000 marriages a year. So let's say we only get 10% in the first year, although they're worried we're going to get 90% within a couple of months, right? Because they have another service at the moment just for the public sector, for reporting death on the public sector. It costs 110 million to build by IBM, and it costs £40,000 a year for every single local authority to run. But our system doesn't cost anything, right? So it's money for nothing. But that system, that got 90% traction within a year. So they think we'll get traction, similar traction within a year. But even if we do, it's still only, we're in the technology business, right? 200,000 customers is nothing. I can control that, and we can make good money just from that niche market with the registrars, understand how the product's working, understand, build that confidence, use it for marketing so people understand how the product works. We're pretty certain the General Registry Office are going to cotton on straight away. They're probably watching me now going, oh no, we're definitely going to have to talk to him now. And so you better come and talk to us, because obviously we're now familiar with this technology and there's so many applications across the government for it, but nobody understands the business model concepts in it. And it's the business model concepts that have really given the advantage to the local authorities with this product. I mean, they normally tender, you know, they put a tender out, they pick a vendor, they pay them, you know, and a couple of years later they start getting a return on their investment. There's just none of that problem with this product. So if that model could be applied to many different scenarios, you get traction with a lot more people.
So
Go ahead.
Thank you. I actually agree with you. It's a good model. You worked very hard on it. I can see that. It is very niche. If you wanted to go mainstream, you need to simplify significantly.
Yes, yeah. The app itself, I mean, the app.
And the concept too, because it is not very clear. I mean, it is barely clear. It is clear to me how it works. I don't think it's going to be clear to the person who hasn't used blockchain before.
Yes. So if you heard, on that first slide, I said we're about assuring activity genuine. We do want to make it so that it's just like sending a message or a picture. That's how people experience
that's
it.
fine. That's fine. But in order to go, you're not mainstream now. You're just testing it with individual people. In order to go mainstream, I insist. You need to simplify. In order to simplify, you have to go to find the people next door, in the shop or in the restaurant, and test it with them, not with us. We're not the right audience for you.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah.
Now
But
that's one.
If you go back a little bit, actually it doesn't matter what's behind this.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Blockchain's irrelevant.
It
If you
is
start
relevant,
throwing
yes.
blockchain into the
Yeah.
No,
into
we
the
don't.
news,
When we went to see the registrars, we didn't even talk about the technology. We just talked to them about what is it that they were looking for. And we don't talk about the
And
technology.
they used it, I think the problem is with the product, I'm showing all three roles,
Yes.
but when the registrars we had a simulation again, and when they were playing the role of the registrar, they were so bored because the other people were playing the other roles of being a newly married couple and everything with lots of guffaw. But then the registrars just stood there waiting, and the point I was trying to make to them is that you do the marriage and it's so easy for you to do the acknowledgement. So the people that are playing that role only saw they just went to the menu, clicked acknowledge, did that, and it was done.
And also
Yeah.
for the newlyweds, they won't be told this is a blockchain technology. They'll be told this is an app. So when you get married, the registrar can acknowledge your wedding, and then you can send that notice to all your service providers. So within the app, there'll be a capability for them to choose their service providers, and then that notice will be sent to the address of their service providers. So for a newlywed, they are going to be presented with an app that helps them inform their service providers when they want to change their name. So at no point are we going to be selling blockchain. Just
Yeah,
like
because
when
that-
somebody tells me, I've been told, use WhatsApp. Nobody tells me all the technology behind it. It's so easy to talk to people, and that's why
I believe that because if you think about whether it's your Airbnb
Yeah.
or a certain taxi company that's been in the news today, if you just talk about that use case, effectively,
Yeah.
people get all the actors.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you don't call it a use case or actors or any underlying technology,
You just say,
they
oh,
kind
it
of
does
get
that.
yeah.
It does
But
that.
what you presented here is a framework to us.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's why I wanted to ask you about that particular use case and
Yeah.
naming the actors, because
Yeah.
then it came along.
But I mean, all the people that
I
I'm
think
showing
we
this
can
to at the
sell.
moment are in the technology
Yeah.
space, and we kind of got the reverse situation sometimes because they want us to. They want to see the smart contract. They want to see me open up the browser and start instantiating it. So we're kind of rolling. When I started, we went to the Isle of Man government. They asked us to go, and I said, "Well, I can show you only the code." Right. So I showed them a rough mobile phone app, but then I was literally to the not the Prime Minister, but the heads of certain
Economic
government things.
development.
I was just flipping out my computer, pointing the code and writing code in front of them. And my point to them is, this is what applications are made of. You wanted to see the product, you asked us to come out and see you, this is what it is, it's code. So we started there, and then we're through this transition, and then ultimately we'd hope that because that's marketing, kind of part of marketing rhetoric. Marketing rhetoric becomes completely independent of what the technology is. Totally independent of
So
it.
like the
So I think on the
developers-
website we're getting there.
So to the two previous points, the way I see what you've got, the value isn't in the app, it's the fact that you've got a platform. And you called it a framework, but the simplicity of getting other people with their domain knowledge to communicate to user needs that they understand in the language they understand means that what you fundamentally have is a way of proving transactions, which is kind of baseline what blockchain is,
Yeah.
but in a more human transaction, like getting married, like changing names and so on and so forth. So
Yeah.
the app that you've got is great for proving out the concept, but as you say, there's 200,000 marriages, there's 600,000 births. So as a company, you might get 1% of that revenue that you estimated there. There's over 1.5 million conveyancing transactions. You're only one person. How do you build up that ecosystem of developers so other people are putting the time and effort into doing conveyancing because they're in that space, and you get the money and the
I've got
transactions?
one other slide if people want to see, which is of course we're currently, we're not saying we're going to do it, but an ICO is one of the revenue, one of the investment opportunities we've got. So what people don't realise maybe that are investing in the ICOs is when you're building, I'm focused on a problem and I'm building a technology to solve that problem, and I'm trying to get it to a point where it's easy to use. But then to get into the ICO, you have to start thinking about how do I create an ecosystem that allows me to put a value, which will be the token represents the value, which will then show all these players behaving in a certain way that will then cause a demand for the token and show value being moved from different players. So you've got people that might be becoming new authoritative acknowledgers, they're going to get paid. People who create the activities, they're going to get paid. So they're interested in this token. So I do have one slide that I'm happy to talk through if you're interested in how someone goes about thinking, how do you actually create a token for an ICO? And that might indicate why we've already been thinking about these concepts, but they're just not something we can explain yet, even to ourselves.
Yeah,
It kind of surprised me that you didn't, or I don't think you said platform at any
Because
point.
no, I explicitly am avoiding that. Because the blockchain and the smart contracts, Ethereum is the platform, right? What we're doing is creating this ecosystem, and it's a distributed app, right, for the people, and then a way of facilitating them, almost templating, because the actual framework is in the Ethereum platform itself. We just build on it and then use it to facilitate these sort of
I would argue
aspects.
something different, but we can talk after.
Yeah, I mean, it's, no, I'd be happy to do it. Does anybody want a quick, if you don't want to, you want to see it? Okay. So no one has seen this, right, okay.
Turn off the camera.
Yeah, turn off the camera actually, do you mind?
Right. Your camera.